Hello, my name is Don Wesher. I'm a longtime community activist, and I'd just like to say one thing. I think the growing inequality is behind a lot of the resistance of people to support money issues in the community. But my question is, and I don't know who would know about this, but do you think that the movement toward privatization of schools by the conservatives is partly driven by the interest to really control the minds of young people growing up in our society?
That's a possibility. I thought about that. There's lots of reasons why, but I do know that the public schools that I work for, I mean, we're just bracing ourselves for the day when a voucher is going to be in every backpack. We just think that's coming. And what we're trying to do is just focus our attention on what's the best, what can we do to be the best for our kids. That's what we just continue to try to focus on. This political stuff is crazy. I did want to mention, before we went to, or after, we met with the Franklin mayor and the Franklin alderwoman that represents the area we went with. We don't have enough of those kinds of conversations, and they were really pleased that we reached out to them. But I'll let
Just a brief comment. I mean, I know, for instance, the head of the Bradley Foundation, who was a strong supporter of vouchers, he railed against the public schools for teaching feminism and all sorts of things. And quite frankly, the things he listed, I wish we did a better job of teaching. Because it's, truth be told, the curriculum is still pretty conservative. But I think the one thing about this, the other side is, part of the testing regime that Diane Ravitch talks about is very much used to privatize, because these schools are labeled as failures. And the huge push for standardization, and I'm not against standards, we have to have standards, but this is like, the huge push for standardization and a test-driven curriculum really cuts out social studies to a large degree, cuts out science, really focuses on really narrow skills. And kids need to be exposed to the broader issues. It's not like we're going to tell them what to believe, but we should really get them to think critically and look at multiple perspectives on these different issues. They're going to inherit the world of ours, and they should be better prepared to think about things like climate crisis and other things like that. And right now, that's being de-emphasized with all this emphasis on this testing and standardization.
we get more concerns in Common Core. It's just so crazy. It's like we've been doing this for a couple of years now. I mean, I'm talking to people often. Parents just called me this week, all concerned about the Common Core, and pulled in that she's worried that we shouldn't be teaching about Obama. We should be teaching about, Bush or whatever. I forget how she said it, but she was concerned that we were leaning too far one way and that we weren't balancing our education. And I just encourage her to talk to your teacher, you talk to our curriculum people. If you have a concern, we want parents involved, you just make sure you talk to them. So it's Common Core is really giving us fits. Not the standards, we think they're good, just the complaints about it.
Yeah, just real quickly on that, I think that's a really great and really key question, because we definitely see that in higher education. I think it's almost easier to sort of understand in higher education. First of all, like, we call it a university, but it's really kind of a multiversity, right? There is a very legitimate desire and need and role in vocational training and education towards that. But historically, there's always been a balance with the idea of a very kind of democratic, civic idea of the educated citizen. And for me, that's more like the liberal arts. That's where I'm an English professor, and we see the humanities and the arts more and more, not just less respected, but more and more disrespected, as we see the discourse shift towards vocational, towards kind of corporate training and a work-ready force. So as Bob mentioned, a fundamental shift in terms of issues of what is the public, but we're also seeing a kind of forced fundamental shift on issues of what is the educated citizen, and really beyond citizen, just the educated human. What do we want? How have we used our education to enrich our lives beyond our jobs? And what do we want for our children in that way?
I totally agree, Mike.